A 3-2-6 should really score some goals, shouldn't it? Let's check one out. This one is called the 3-2-6 TotalMatty. It is by someone called mattyzucks. That's the name. So hence the name. But a 3-2-6 is an interesting choice for this type of formation. But why is it called the 3-2-6? Well, read the description and you can find out. Why it's called the 3-2-6, the sweeper keeper in attack acts as a part of a back three in possession with the ball playing defender and inverted fullback, while the libero steps into the midfield to form a 2 with the DM. Tweaks you can make against a back three: go to attacking mentality. Can adjust tempo depending on game flow or opponent. If you are not keeping enough possession, taking down the tempo to standard or mentality to balance may help you keep the ball more. If you want a regular 3-1 build-up, you can change the libero to a ball-playing defender, put the sweeper keeper on support, put DM on support, and you can change the inverted winger to an inside forward in attack. Now there's a lot to that, but with that being there, this clearly isn't a tactic that you just holiday through and hope for the best. I'm sure Liverpool, maybe Ipswich Town, lately they've been doing really well. They're probably going to do really well. Aston Villa's probably, I'm going to guess, not doing as well. But we're going to check it out with those three teams, as I just said, in just a minute. It'll be interesting to see how this tactic does with our three teams, simply because it does sound like you really have to get your hands into the mix, do every match, do match shouts, change things up as the opponents change up. And we don't do that here while we're just holidaying throughout an entire season. But with all of that said, let's just jump in the Premier League and see how our teams did. Well, as you can see, Liverpool in first, 87 points. First place, fantastic. That's where they've been for the last couple of weeks. 87 points is probably a bit down, however. 75 goals. I mean, it looks like they're almost topping the list. Manchester City getting one more. But overall, they're not dominating like you'd expect them to. Aston Villa, though, in sixth, that is kind of the mid-range. 64 points is definitely lower than their current average, I would say. 61 goals, the same. Liverpool did get to the semifinals of the Carabao Cup, but against Nottingham Forest, drawing away from home, drawing at home, and then losing in penalties. That's an interesting one. You do get through Aston Villa in the FA Cup quarters, but you lose out in the FA Cup semis to Chelsea. However, trophy number 2 comes, well, at a hand of Italian teams, but AC Milan 2-0 in the Europa League final, beating Roma, beating West Ham and FC Porto. Fairly well done there. So overall for Liverpool, fantastic in the Premier League, as you can see. A little bit down from normal, but still getting first. Winners of the Europa League, fantastic there as well. FA Cup and Carabao Cup, both in the semis, so you can't fault it too bad. But Nottingham Forest is a really interesting one. Squad-wise, you can see, I mean, same amount of green as usual. 23 goals for Nunez, though, 19 for Salah. It's maybe a little bit down from their latest averages. 12 assists for Jota is definitely on the low side. 11 for Luis Diaz and Curtis Jones. There you go. And then average rating, well, Kelleher with a 7.34, but a 7.31 for Salah. Changing things up to Aston Villa side, you can see Carabao Cup 4th round, 2-4 loss against Chelsea, and then the FA Cup quarters we already saw against Liverpool. But they don't come away from the season empty-handed. Europa Conference League final trophy in penalties against Lille. So overall, I mean, Carabao Cup, FA Cup, you did get to the quarters, but Carabao Cup and Premier League, not the greatest. 6th place, you've seen a lot better from them before in other tactics. But winners of the Conference League, so that's pretty good. And yeah, a smattering of green right there, but 37 goals for Ollie Watkins, who thankfully sticks around, all the way down to 13 for Douglas Luiz. 16 assists for Douglas Luiz and Giniolo with 14. Average rating Douglas Luiz with a 7.16. Data Hub, this is probably one of the first times we've seen minus shot percentage. Everything else is just above Premier League average. I mean, goals a little bit more and dribbles as well. But overall, I mean, you've seen a lot higher attacking tactics than this one. But goals per game, only 1.97, definitely down from their average. 0.47 conceded and 0.71 XG against. That's actually fairly average, or just a little bit better than average. Aston Villa, yeah, I mean, less than Liverpool, that as you'd expect. Dribbles are up there, though. Defensively, not bad. Goals per game, 1.61. It's actually what their average used to be, but conceded about 1 flat and XG at 1.06. Premier League stats, Liverpool with 2.29 points per game and Aston Villa in 6th with 1.68. Most goals, Liverpool in 2nd with 75, like we mentioned earlier. Aston Villa all the way down in 7th with 61. Fewest shots against, Liverpool in 2nd with 225, Aston Villa in 4th with 302. Most possession, 59 to 57% for Liverpool and Aston Villa. Most dribbles made, Aston Villa in fourth with 696. Liverpool just a bit down with 680 in fifth. Best pass completion, Liverpool and Aston Villa both with 90%. And then most shots for Liverpool in fifth with 451 and Aston Villa in eighth with 404. Well, now, as we switch things up to Ipswich Town, they're in 13th place. They did worse than their media prediction, and that's not good. 59 points, 56 goals, a far bit down from where they're supposed to be. Domestically, yeah, they didn't do all that well as you'd expect. Wycombe Wanderers, Carabao Cup second round, they lose out in penalties, and then the FA Cup third round, you draw at home and you lose away from home to Blackburn. So overall, yeah, not good at all. I mean, 13th place is definitely not good. Especially the past couple of weeks, we've seen them first and second at most. So that's been crazy. But this one is definitely a doozy. And then FA Cup, Carabao Cup. You're not expected much, but this was a little bit disappointing. And as you can see in the squad, absolutely no one in the green. Not many people played either. Goals-wise, 10 for Chaplin, and that is it. Hurst with only 2. No starts whatsoever. That's crazy. Yeah, I'll say it. 8 assists for Leif Davis, and he's still there. Average rating, though, a 6.95 for Cameron Burgess in defense, and then a Haladki goalkeeper with a 6.94. Well, as we switch to the championship stats, I mean, they weren't in the list, so we got to go to here. 1.28 points per game. That is not great. But if we look at all this, there's not there until fewer shots against in fifth with 382, most possession in second with 59%, most dribbles made in seventh with 757, and then best pass completion in second with 90%. But let us take a look at this tactic. You get a sweeper keeper in attack, you get wing back on the left in support, an inverted fullback in defend on the right, you get a ball playing defender in defend next to a libero in defend, a DM in defend, box-to-box in support next to a roaming playmaker in support, inverted winger in attack on the left, a winger in attack on the right, and a deep lying forward in attack up front. Positive mentality, in possession, attacking with is fairly wide, play out of defense, passing directness is shorter, tempo is slightly higher, mixed crosses and work the ball in the box. In transition, hold shape, slow pace down, distribute to the back line, and then out of possession, a high press line of engagement, a higher defensive line, trigger press more often, prevent short goalkeeper distribution, and step up more. But now, how did it do for our 3 teams? Well, clearly 2 out of the 3 teams did not fare well at all. Ipswich Town doing an abysmal job. And if we switch to Liverpool and Aston Villa doing a pretty bad job as well. I mean, not awful, but I would definitely say we've seen better tactics with Aston Villa. But now, again, this tactic clearly states you need to have your hands in the mix with all this. You can't just holiday throughout the entire season like we did here and expect fantastic results. I mean, Liverpool, yeah, you're in first. You got a fantastic squad. You should be up there anyway. But overall, play it with your players, play each match, do your changes and shouts, do your changes in tactics as opponents change up. I think you could do a much better job than we did here. But, let us know if you ever try this and see how it worked for you. But in this test, at least, it didn't seem to work all that well. But that's it for me, Sevian FM, for the Football Manager blog channel, saying thank you as always for watching. Take care and enjoy.